Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a fascinating stack of sources today, really digging into a major global shift. The global south stepping up, actively shaping a new kind of world order. We're talking nations finding their own way. And I think the first thing we really need to grasp, welcome to the deep dive. We've got a fascinating stack of sources today, really digging into a major global shift. The global south stepping up, actively shaping a new kind of world order. We're talking nations finding their own way. And I think the first thing we really need to grasp right off the bat is that global south isn't just that old economic shorthand anymore, for lower income countries. It's really evolved. It's become this powerful political idea, almost a geohistorical construct driven by a shared goal.
Absolutely. And that shared goal, that ambition, it's really fueled by shared history. There's the legacy of colonialism for sure, but also a really widespread dissatisfaction, I'd say, with the current setup. The global north-led structures for governance, for finance, they're widely seen as, well, perpetuating inequality. So this isn't just about tweaking the rules. It's aiming for a fundamental systemic transformation.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. To unpack the actual tools, the institutions, the financial strategies, even the underlying philosophies that the global south is using to carve out this autonomy from those traditional Western systems.
And a lot of this drive, it really starts with the debt situation, the structural debt crisis. You had conditional lending from the big international financial institutions, the IFIs like the IMF, the World Bank, and those conditions often came tied to what we called structural adjustment programs, or SAPs.
Right, the SAPs. And for listeners maybe not steeped in development economics, those typically meant, well, pretty painful austerity measures, didn't they? Cuts to public spending, selling off state assets, essentially losing control over national policy. Precisely. They systematically kind of locked in dependency. So the political goal now, the necessity really, is to create what some call a policy sanctuary, a space where countries can pursue their own development paths without these Western prescriptions dictating terms.
Makes sense. And building that sanctuary takes, well, actual building. Institutions. And your sources point to this really striking convergence happening. You've got BRICS after its expansion and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. Both now have 10 core developing economies. And critically, 4 big ones, India, Iran, China, Russia, they're members of both groups. That feels significant.
Oh, it's absolutely strategic. It's not just coincidence. The idea seems to be forging a tighter connection, maybe in a SCO-BRICS sort of triad, coordinating strategy across finance, security, trade, the whole spectrum. And you see the financial architecture mirroring this. The new development bank, the NDB, already exists within BRICS, and there's strong expectation, maybe for 2025, of an SKO development bank announcement, parallel tracks for regional finance.
Okay, so the institutional scaffolding is going up. Now, let's talk about the financial toolkit itself.
Yeah.
Specifically, this push for de-dollarization. It sounds like a formal policy goal for many of these members. How are they tackling it?
Well, the NDB, for instance, is pretty explicit about it. If you look at their general strategy for 2022 to 2026, there's a target. Disperse 30% of all its financing in their local currencies of its members.
30%. That's not insignificant.
Not at all. And the implication is huge. It's not just about hedging against exchange rate fluctuations for the borrowing countries, though that's part of it. It's a direct move to reduce the need for dollars in big development projects, a structural challenge.
And then there's this other, maybe even more ambitious idea, BRICS Pay. This proposed alternative payment system, you mentioned it's structured as a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. Why is that structure specifically avoiding a central headquarters so key?
That's the core of its resilience, potentially. A DAO, by design, doesn't have a single physical headquarters or a central corporate entity in one country. That makes it incredibly difficult for unilateral sanctions to target effectively. There's no single nerve center to shut down or pressure through one country's regulations. It's designed for security and, crucially, for operational autonomy across all the different legal systems of the BRICS members.
Fascinating. So the economic and financial ground is definitely shifting. But this challenge, it goes beyond money, right? It digs into the core ideas about global security itself. The SEO, for example, champions this principle of indivisible security. What does that mean in practice?
It's a direct counterpoint to traditional collective security like NATO, which is inherently exclusive security for members. Indivisible security, at least in principle, argues that security must be equal for all nations, regardless of alliances or political alignment. China's Global Security Initiative, the GSI, tries to operationalize this. It explicitly rejects the idea that one country can increase its own security by diminishing another's.
Okay, on the surface, that sounds quite principled, promoting equality. But some of the analysis suggests, doesn't it, that in reality, this principle is often used to shield states from criticism about their internal actions, essentially maximizing sovereignty and non-intervention above all else.
That's definitely the inherent tension, yes. It absolutely prioritizes state sovereignty and aims to limit external political interference, which, loops right back to the broader goal we've been discussing, achieving autonomy across every domain, from finance to security policy.
So if we pull back and connect these different threads, the institutions, the finance, the security philosophy, what we're really witnessing is the emergence of a kind of new hybrid statecraft, wouldn't you say, where power isn't just military might anymore, but it's wielded through controlling capital, shaping supply chains, managing economic interdependence.
Exactly. It's geoeconomics coming to the forefront. And that common thread, that consistent driver, is the pursuit of autonomy. Look at infrastructure choices, for instance. When countries in the Global South compare something like China's Belt and Road Initiative, which often comes with fewer political strings attached, versus financing from the Global North that might have more prescriptive governance requirements, well, they often lean towards the option that maximizes their policy freedom.
So given that commitment we see, like the NDB's push for local currencies and the clever